Hi, everybody. Thanks, Swam, for the detailed introduction. Thanks a lot. It's good to see so many people from diverse background. I was hearing to the questions, and there are a lot of diversification. Like we heard the example of Caterpillar, we heard the example of multiple platforms. How do we do end-to-end testing? MATLAB examples, and all. And IVR testing. That was the one which caught my attention. So good to see all of you. And today I'm talking about our AI journey. So we started our AI journey in the last quarter of last year, 2024, and what has been our learnings throughout this curve. And it clearly fits into the last session, whatever Ganesh and Arvind explained on how their BrowserStack is trying to get the different agents into different places. Right? So I noted some keywords in the previous session, like democratization of tools. Now anyone can build, right? So everyone has access to Copilot, Cursor, everyone can build tools, but how do you control that and make sure you have a proper governance framework around that? Then hallucination, someone questioned about a hallucination. How do we control hallucination? Hallucinations are to be there when you're dealing with LLMs which are generically trained, right? But how do we reduce the hallucination and how do we bring in more of determinism in anything that we are using on the AI agents? Then there was a point related to productivity. How do we measure productivity? Is it just translation of number of test cases that are churned out by AI, or we need to have a different scoring mechanism for, or different KPIs for measuring the ROI that we get from the AI agents and so on and so forth. So based on all of this, what I have done is I have put it into a framework called Spark, which is nothing but smart patterns and anti-patterns. So what has been our learnings, what we think can be used across the industry, and what are the anti-patterns which didn't yield us good results, and we had to do a course correction when we started our AI journey, right? And reliable knowledge. End of the day, whatever agents or automation we do using AI, we want all of the agents to be performing in a deterministic way. Number one, they should be accurate, and everyone should be confident that whatever results they say from the AI agents, that is accurate. Right? So with that, I'll jump on to the session. Takeaways, proven patterns, which have worked for us and the organizations that I'm working with. In the past, I was in services, now I'm in product. So when I was in services, we did a lot of AI implementations for multiple organizations, and I've consolidated all the learnings based on that. Recognize anti-patterns in terms of people, process, and projects. So most of us ignore this aspect, like we focus only on the tools and the technology aspects of it, but there is a lot of cultural shift, mindset shift. How do you bring in the right processes to make sure that your AI journey is successful? So all of that I'll be talking about. Reliable knowledge. So how do we establish the reliability in any of the AI solutions that you're working on? It can be confidence scoring, evaluations. It can be the security of the AI agents. Of late, I don't know how many of you have heard the MCP supply chain attacks. So lots of MCPs in the industry, any site you go, everyone has released MCPs. But how do you make sure that they are secure? Adapt and enforce responsibly. So we cannot just let everyone start with AI implementation. Of course, there will be experimentations and we have to promote that. But it should be in a controlled way when it comes to the organizational implementation, right? Because a lot of data has to be fed into the LLMs. How do you make sure that the data is controlled? What are the tools that they are using? How do you make sure that there are enough contracts with the LLM providers or any of the AI providers? How exactly we need to control all of that? And the human in the loop. So where are humans applicable? Will testers lose their jobs with all the AI agents coming in, or testers will move up the value chain with a little bit of upskilling that they will have to do? So that's what I'll be talking about. So let's jump onto the topic. So what is the major shift that is happening? So there is an ignition. Everyone, as soon as ChatGPT got launched, everyone got a platform where they could ask anything and get anything done. But all of these are experiments, right? So quality assurance, we can upload a PRD, we can get the details, the detailed test cases, but how do you make sure that the coverage is 100% for that? How do you know what is not covered so that you can go ahead and cover manually through that? So it becomes a continuous learning process in terms of the AI capabilities on the tools and platform that you're using, learning of the AI agents on the platforms and all of the context you're providing. So how do we measure that? That becomes very important. Mindset shift. testers were always executors. We used to get the stories, we used to get epics, we used to design test cases, automate them, script in any programming language, that's a literal translation of English to coding, and then we used to execute, right? So it's no more execution, it's orchestration, because you have all of these tool sets available. So BrowserStack gave a lot of tools and agents that they are working on. So testers' role becomes very important in selecting what tools to use when, and how do you put the right KPIs to measure the effectiveness of the tools, and then orchestrate to fit into your life, into your workflows, right? So that is the thing we'll have to think about when we are driving AI initiatives in the organizations. Again, in user interface, now AI is everywhere, like learning, test case generation from PRDs and all. We saw a lot of examples in the previous session. Planning, the test selection, what Arvind was mentioning, planning and prioritizing. So there used to be tools earlier in the industry also, but with AI coming into picture, it has changed the whole game. Earlier, your tool selection and prioritization, test selection and prioritization used to be code-based. Do a code diff, do the coverage diff, establish traceability, and then generate. Best example, Coverity and HP Test Director, which were there in 2010, 2015 timeframes, right? So now how do we use AI to do that? Add context. Context is everything. Otherwise, everyone will have complaints that the LLMs are hallucinating if you don't give the right context. And how do you control the context that you give? It's not like you can dump in the whole organizational context. In fact, in our organization, what we did was we connected all of our tools, enterprise tools, be it the messaging systems, the meetings, the Google Meets, transcripts, Jira, Epics, entire Google suite, all of that we connected to a RAG pipeline, and all the context was available, and we started building agents on top of that. So it was a problem of plenty for us, right? So then it starts hallucinating. Whatever has to be done on a CRM workflow, it starts doing on a application workflow. If I come from an ad tech background, and in ad tech, if you have to set up a campaign, why do you need a CRM workflow for that, right? So that is where hallucination comes in. So the context control is very important. And then standardize. LLMs are non-deterministic by nature. How do you bring in determinism? Through templating, giving the org-wide rules on how a test case would look like. So now we have a lot of tools available, like test management system is from BrowserStack. Now when we are generating the test cases, how exactly do we do? Everyone knows English, but English also has to be structured. Arvind showed an example of structured PRD versus non-structured PRD. The results will be completely different when you give in like that. So the templatization is very important. Right from the data sources to the output of LLMs. We'll have to make sure that we handle all of that. Execution. How do you execute? There are two schools of thoughts. Do we really need to write code? Or directly we can execute through MCPs. In MCPs, Playwright MCP is the most popular. Claude Desktop has been really good. But Claude Desktop is a bit heavy, and then to control it and all, there is a lot of knowledge and coding that has to be done. Right? So execution, it is a trade-off that we need to take. In fact, one of the examples that I had was we removed the coding part completely, and everyone started writing feature files running through Playwright MCPs, and then all test cases were running, everyone was happy, testers were not coding. Outcome of that, all our token limits were going out of control. The spend was too high. And it also brings in the non-deterministic angle. It doesn't know, we don't know what to expect when a test execution report is there. Every time it will be different, right? So it has to be a cautious call that we need to take in what cases we use what. Then reporting. Use Cursor, Copilot, ask it to generate a report, it generates beautiful reports. But can the reports be standalone? You have to fit it into your organizational umbrellas. In our case, we use all the log analytics, and then we do dashboarding. BrowserStack reporting, they have network logs and a lot of other logs that are there. There are test observability solutions that are there, which can be used. So what exactly to use is a call that has to be taken at your team's level. What is the reports that are needed? It's not like I run 1,000 test cases, I want to see each test case, what exactly passed and what exactly failed. I was interested, I was talking to Ganesh on test selection, the deduplication agent, like multiple test cases. How do you optimize test cases, right? So all of these have to be taken up, and when it comes to reporting on how many test cases, what test cases are actually adding value. Then adaptive synthetic test data generation. Test data, very critical part. Without the right test data, whatever AI tests that you generate, if you're not giving the right data, it's not going to succeed. And especially in cases where there are workflows, there is user authentication and permissions, and there are data schemas which the form elements have to align to and all, it becomes very important to control the schema of the test and also what test. For example, I'm a user, I have privileges to create something, right? I have written the test in an unstructured way because Playwright MCP does on its own. First time it does very well because it has the context when you're chatting up with it. Then comes when you integrate it in the pipeline. It might have additional context or it might have lost some context. When it comes, if you are giving it an array of multiple users, which user to select? So you'll have to literally specify like user with so and so roles and privileges checked against this database before going forward. So test data becomes very important. And synchronization. We generate test data, it becomes stale over a period of time. There is a lot of new use cases, new areas which are coming on from the production. So it's very important to sync the production data with our test data and make sure that there is an agent which is continuously synchronizing this. In our case, when we are handling billions of transactions a day, it becomes very important wherein if we see any new data patterns which are not tested, it goes into a separate repo, separate data set in a separate database where there is a human in the loop. They will select, okay, these are anomalies, these are the right test data which is not covered in our data coverage. So we'll have to consider those things. Planning. Roadmap and readiness, very important aspects because everyone is experimenting in the AI world today. Every person, testing, development or anyone, everyone is experimenting. But how do you bring in the right roadmap? Without having a roadmap, if everyone starts executing whatever they get, it will be the explosion, as Arvind mentioned, explosion of use cases and solutions that will be there. Okay. So going forward, so those are the problems now, and those are the problems which ignite multiple experiments on the AI solution, and we'll have to control what all is getting ignited, which we don't want it to become a black hole, wherein everyone is doing everything and then suddenly it starts failing. Transition from AI experiments. Experimentation is where most of the things are happening, to governed frameworks. So what does an agent constitute of? There should be a definition at org level. So in fact, first 6 months, we gave freedom to everyone. Everyone was automating, everyone was doing everything. But when it came to integration with CI/CD or when it came to regression suites and all, nothing was working. So then we started telling, okay, if you are developing an agent, what is the evaluation and confidence scoring that you will have to get? What is the right tooling that we need to adapt? How are you providing the right context continuously so that for that AI agent? And agent memory. There are a lot of advanced concepts which we'll have to take care when we are talking about governed frameworks. AI maturity roadmap. So what is the maturity level you are looking at? Everything cannot be done in 1 year, right? So we need to plan, we need to integrate. So we started with UI automation, we started with API automation. API was a low-hanging fruit. It was very easy to be done. UI, there are lots of issues. We do something on React, then we jump onto Salesforce. That concept doesn't work. So we'll have to change our approach. Scale. Once we put into the AI, into the pipelines, once we integrate a lot of, like today we have around 2,000 test cases written on Playwright MCP, and when we put it into our CI/CD pipelines, the main problem is the context confusion. So one test case is expecting something, it is picking a context for one test case, one context for one test case. The next feature file or next test case, when it is running, it picks a different context. So what kind of guardrails we need to put to make sure that that context poisoning doesn't happen? Then govern. We need to be continuously governing this. User interface, again, generation, prioritization, regression candidate selection, parallelism and distribution. When it comes to MCPs, we encountered a major issue on parallelism and distribution. Like people were writing feature files, there was no control file, feature level. There is a token limit when you give. There is a context window that can be given. Now you are giving guardrails, you are giving a lot of additional context, then you are giving the test context. So there is a chunking that happens. And once that chunking gets into it, it loses the context completely. And we have seen real examples where these things have failed. Right? So now we are working on solutions wherein that context can be controlled, given in a controlled way. And again, that involves intelligence. How do you bring in an agent for that? API testing. Open API schemas. In the last slide, I will show how this overall ecosystem would look like and how all of these points get converged to the overall quality engineering platforms. Okay. So we have test generation from open API schemas. So now we have mandated like developers will write Swagger schemas mandatorily and testers will not write even a single API test case. So developers write this Swagger schema. From the Swagger schema, it is the API endpoint and contract tests are generated. There are enough rules that are written. And then once they are generated, the API chains are generated from HAR files. So there are UI tests running. We capture the HAR files. From the HAR files, we generate these API chains in an automated way. And there is a sign-off provided by human. And complete API testing happens in an autonomous way. Regression prediction. Very interesting term with lot of coding languages, with lot of architectures, with lot of Kubernetes things coming in and all. How do you predict what test cases should be selected from a regression suite? In fact, there was a question on that. So there are lots of solution that needs to be worked on. And this is an area which not many people are able to crack. So I was asking Ganesh on the test selection, how exactly BrowserStack is doing that, right? And adaptive schema checks. So schemas should adapt. So schemas evolve, version 1, version 2, version 3 on the API side, right? So which schema to use when? So you'll have to have hooks on API gateways on what are the things which are configured and then take up. So you'll have to think this in a holistic way before considering any solution. Of course, a smaller experiment when you're doing, you give it, it works in AI. But when you have to scale, you will have to consider all of these aspects. Adaptive synthetic data, again, it's the same thing that I covered in the previous slide. Process planning, define ownership. Not everything can be done by one person. A tester cannot go and fine-tune an LLM. A tester cannot make sure that organization-wide rules can be given. There is DevOps support needed. Process, machine learning, data scientists, data quality, all of these teams should collaborate. It cannot be done by one team. So this we'll have to bear in mind. I have seen a lot of testers, okay, I have got a Llama model installed, I have tuned this and it is working for me. What next? Will the Llama model be approved by your organization to use? What are the necessary synthetic data policies that you will have? What are the AI governance policies you will have to go through? So you'll have to consider all of these aspects before experimenting. Okay? Governance cadence. Governance cadence. It's not reactive. It's not like I do it once in 3 months the way we used to do ISO and CMMI audits. No, it has to be continuous and it should be automated. Manually, it's impossible to be done. Then what are the right metrics? So I'll touch upon on the metrics part in the next slides. So to keep it simple, smart, apply AI where it adds measurable value. If you cannot measure, there is a saying in project management, if you don't measure, you don't care. Right? So apply AI where it adds measurable value. So what is your KPI that you want to touch upon? Most of the people whom I had interacted in the initial days when AI came in, I have these 10,000 test cases. This I want to migrate. What is the cycle time that you will have? My team is churning out 300 test cases a week. So how much time can I reduce if I have to rewrite the same test cases? These KPIs will not fly. These are not the productivity measures. The right productivity measures are something like, how is my defect detection efficiency? What kind of defects are found by your tests? What is the cycle time? How much QA cycle time is reducing? How much is shifted left? For example, API testing. Is any QA involved in API testing, or QA is actually focusing on the end-to-end API chains and the business flow testing using APIs? Otherwise, it becomes a mundane task for QA. Call Postman with all the data and then you verify the response. Okay, manual testing is done. Right? Patterns, capture best practices. Again, it's not, there is no right or wrong way in AI implementation. So the team learns by their experiences. And every use case will be different. Because the way things are documented, the way different people write English also is different. Right? Some people who are very good in English, they write complex words which become ambiguous. Some people who are poor in English, they're not able to express what they want to achieve. Right? There should be a right balance of how we do, and we have to understand the prompt engineering techniques properly. Then anti-patterns. Failures, I'll talk about people, project, and process failures. That's the main intent of this session. Reliable, explainability and governance. Whatever you are doing, you should be in a position to explain. You cannot tell, no, I don't know how LLM did it. End of the day, we have to prove that it works in a deterministic way as per the goal that we have set. Okay. Knowledge, institutionalize. Again, it cannot be done in silos. It has to be at the org level. So the AI success is got only when it is done at a org level. Individual silos level, the benefits that we can reap are very minimal. And continuous maturity. It should be evolving continuously because all the feedback loops should be continuous in real time. Yep. So patterns and anti-patterns. First is people. The first point that I wanted to talk about is most of the testers who are fearing that the jobs will be lost. That's not the truth, in fact. Because the tester's job will move closer to the product. In my earlier organization, we had coined a term, BAQE model, business analyst and QE. They work together, irrespective of what engineering teams or development teams do. Because testers understand all the scenarios and they are the right people to bring in these AI solutions and they are the right people to work with product. So you're moving up the value chain. You're not considered as a person who is getting into the SDLC after a developer has done coding. You're getting into the SDLC much before developer even knows about what is the requirement, right? Because any of the LLM, so someone asks a question, can we generate test cases from wireframes? So if you have seen, Figma has released a MCP. And again, not all Figma diagrams can be used to create workflows. There is a proper layering approach that has to be given. You can generate code using tools like Colocofy. You can generate test cases directly from Figma MCPs. With additional context, of course, your UI implementation, your requirement implementation and all. Okay. So testers evolve into AI trainers because you know what exactly are the scenarios that the LLM might miss when it is actually testing it. Even in the coding, if developers want to use AI, testers are the right people to provide the context after the product teams. So you have to start thinking from those lines. So anti-pattern, treating AI adoption as a replacement of people instead of augmentation. So you are getting a lot of additional skills and tool chains on your plate to move up the value chain. Foster cross-functional collaboration between QA, DevOps, and data science teams. So it cannot be done in silos, what I told in the previous slide. AI literacy. What are the skills? What are the trainings we need to take when someone has to learn AI? Right? People start with data science, machine learning, statistical algorithms, and all know that's not needed if you want to show AI benefits in your day-to-day life. First, let's pick the low-hanging fruits. UI automation, how much of an efficiency and effectiveness you can bring in. How many defects you can find by an autonomous bot that is running continuously. So let's target on the low-hanging fruits. Once you start targeting, you will come across different problems. Then you will dig deeper to understand more and more. So a couple of projects that I have led, this is the approach that we have taken, and the benefits are twofold. One, people are continuously learning and they feel motivated that yes, they can take up the next granular level thing on the AI adoption. And don't try to rebuild everything. We cannot build AI systems from scratch. So if a tool is there, use it. And then put in the right monitors and evals to make sure that what is the confidence you are getting from that tool. Okay. AI literacy, basic literacy nowadays is prompt engineering, of course, which was the theme of 2024 and first quarter of 2025. It's all about agents now. What are the things that constitute an agent? Eval, scoring, guardrails, context engineering, self-healing prompts, which is a main theme that is going on, right? Agent memories. LLM, temperature control, and all of this are at the very last level if you have to get into those areas. So don't start bottom up, go top down. Take a use case, start implementing it. Whatever issues you find, start and go on researching on those lines. Recognize that human oversight remains critical. And who can provide this oversight? It's product and testing only. No one else. DevOps can give you infrastructure. It will be critical. But the developers, when they are developing, wipe coding is a buzzword now. So whoever is doing wipe coding, you will have to test the code that is generated by an AI agent. And vibe coding stories we have already heard, what kind of code it is churning out and all. So it increases the value of testers. Reward experimentation and learning. So if you are leading teams, don't tell people not to experiment on, okay, this is a close, I want you to experiment only on your OpenAI. Give that freedom. And once you come up with a solution, okay, then put in a right governance and then do the value stream mapping and these kind of things to see whether it adds real value to the overall vision that we have. So that is the way we'll have to promote experimentation and learning. Again, anti-pattern for that, overburdening QA with new tool. Hey, I found a new tool in GitLab. I found a new tool in YouTube video. I found something Claude released, OpenAI released, because every day there are new tools getting released. The recent one is OpenAI Chat Kit. Before that week, it was Agent Kit. So if you see like that, every day you cannot learn everything and then still do your work. So have a clear vision, see what is the use case you want to take up, then track what are the available tools and solutions in the market. Then you will be focused on getting that solution working. So the best AI systems fail without empowered people. So people should be allowed to experiment with a right governance framework. Success starts with capability, the skills that you build, confidence and collaboration. Okay, ethical awareness and accountability in decision making. Okay, I have done it. It's a problem with the LLM. That will not fly because end of the day you are implementing that use case and you are telling, right? Assuming engineers will figure it out. So it has to be top down in the organizational structure wherein you define a roadmap. In your case, do you want to go with Llama models or small language models which you can host? Yes, experimentation, very good. But when it comes to scale, can you scale the Llama models and have the right infrastructure for it? Right? Some organizations might invest, some organizations might not. And the problem will be more in services industries. So whoever are working on services, do you cater to product where they want to do everything on their own, or do you cater to the market where people wants to go with the generic LLMs? So that's a trade-off we will always have to take. Yep. Projects. Start with small, focused pilots tied to measurable KPIs. This is the point I was mentioning. Defect detection efficiency, test cycle reduction. It's not the number of test cases that you churn out. That is not a productivity number that can be given. It's like how many defects more you are finding. What is your coverage if you can get that by using AI? Because the latest Playwright agent, if you have seen, the way it crawls and generates the test plans and the next test cases, if you tweak it to some more extent, you can actually map the navigation paths, you can check the data, all the form element coverage and all of that. So those kind of things, put it right from start as a goal for you when you're starting your experimentation journey. Right? Clear AI adoption roadmap, pilot, scale, govern. AI initiatives to business goals. So what is your business goal? Release velocity, risk reduction, cost saving. And there are a couple of other business goals. There is a startup who wants to impress their investors by showing AI. Right? So it's the same plain old microservices are called agents by packaging them in the right way. So there are multiple use cases. So understand your business goal, why you are doing that. Involve stakeholders early. So if you're trying to do any experiment, talk to your leads, managers, or the people in the organization, find out anything that is actually in progress for that. Then collaborate with those people, share the ideas, and then work on that. Everyone does in silos, and then everyone builds different solutions. Half of the people's solutions will not be accepted for sure. Right? Measure ROI through outcome metrics, not just tool usage. It's not about how many tools we have put in our AI ecosystem. It's about what is the ROI that we got against the KPIs that we have set for ourselves. AI governance checkpoints I covered. Change management, lack of traceability between model decisions and business outcomes. Right? So Gemini is good in the areas which are related to public domain. Claude is very good when it comes to coding and certain structured analysis. OpenAI is better in reasoning from what I have experienced. It's not a market term or something, but based on our team and whatever we are checking in our organization, this is how we have distributed the model for different use cases. So when you come up with a use case, check with your governance team on what exactly is the model that is already being considered for this. And then we can build on top of it. Projects run in isolation, no feedback or learning loop across teams. That become very important. And most of the AI, I don't know, when ChatGPT came in, first thing I did was I asked it, first day when I saw ChatGPT, I was working on a test case generation proposal, and then I just fed in the entire PRD and asked it to generate all test cases. It gave 200, 300 test cases. Good, but the next question was, how do I measure the coverage that it is giving? How do I know? If I know what it is not covering, it's easy to handle manually. But in that case, it becomes important. It becomes very difficult for us to assess what is not done. And when you don't know what is not done, it creates bigger problems. Okay, so no big bang AI initiatives. Plan with small, focused pilots. So AI adoption should be treated as a critical engineering project. It cannot be done as a tool evaluation or some kind of a small experiment. So if you want to do something do the way you plan a full-fledged project. Plan, measure, iterate, and scale. Last is the process. Where does process comes into picture? Embed continuous learning loops. We do it once. For example, one of the test management example that I was having, wherein we generated all the test cases, we created a code snippet using cursor itself to update all the test cases after running through Playwright MCP back to X-ray. Worked very well. All test cases were in X-ray. We did it on build 1. Build 2 was an iterative build. Some requirements changed. So there are some test cases, blindly we relied on LLM. It went and changed all the feature files. Then we had to update to X-ray. How do you synchronize that? What is new one? What is the old one? How do you handle the updates part? And a lot of tools when I'm, tool vendors also when I'm talking about, this is the main problem. The issue is not with the tool vendor's approach or something. The issue is with the way we have documented our test cases. If it is structured, it becomes very easy to analyze and then do. If it is unstructured, it creates bigger problems. So templatization and standardization become very important here. Okay. Model testing into CI/CD pipeline, the AI evals. So whatever AI agents or anything that you're doing, how do you bring in the evals and confidence scoring? There are tools like PromptFoo, Ragas, Deep Eval, Confident AI. Now Databricks is coming up with the evaluation framework. OpenAI released evals and all. So what is the right evaluation mechanism that would fit to the KPIs that you have set to yourselves? Process guardrails. So what it should do, what it should not do. If it is doing something, how it should do. What are the control boundaries that you need to put in? So those should be clearly defined. So in our organization, what we did on the guardrails was, how many of you know about cursor rules? So we started writing these rules. We asked all the testers to write the rules when they are doing it based on whenever they saw hallucination, whenever they saw MCP is not doing the right tool calls. Browser was not performing when it was run through an MCP, when it was run through a code, or when it was run manually. So all of these people fine-tune, and put in all the rules. So what we did was we consolidated all of those rules and created a centralized organization repository. Then we changed those cursor rules. Cursor rules are MDC files. Then we moved them to MD files, which both can use, Cursor and OpenAI. So this is how we brought in standardization, and anyone who is doing, and we worked with DevOps, like any tester wants to automate something, they open their IDE, they just download, execute one command line, it gets 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm done. It's the last. After that, 2 slides. Yeah. So they actually get that one command, it downloads all the rules from the centralized repository, and any of the changes that they have done to that centralized rules, when they create an MR, it gets merged. There is a associated MR created on the centralized repo also. And that goes to architecture team for review, we approve it, it becomes part of the centralized repo. This kind of continuous loop are very important when we are talking about agentic systems. Retraining cadence. I'll not touch upon on this because retraining and all are advanced concept once you have enough data and you have the racks and all, when you have to retrain or fine-tune the models and all for your particular specific use. So I have seen not many organizations on the quality engineering side doing this still. Validation checkpoints. How exactly do you validate that? See, ChatGPT 4 came, 4.5 came, 5 came. 4.5, it was not at par with even 4. So 5 had lot of improvements that were done. So when a new LLM is launched, how exactly do you migrate? What is the impact on your existing systems that it can have? Standardize on reliable data pipelines. So what is the feedback that you're giving and how are the data sources that you're having? So whether it will be structured or can you templatize your PRDs? Can you templatize your Jira epics and stories? Templatize your test cases, test results. What kind of logs you're creating? Browser logs, console logs, network logs, all of those will be there. But when it comes to even the server logs will be fed in. But when it comes to the data, write data, what is the structure you are giving to those logs so that the LLMs can understand it better. Automate routine validations while keeping humans in loop. So routine validations and automated validations are very important. And process should evolve in a predictive and continuous way, not in a reactive way. We have been doing AI-driven tests as fire and forget, no feedback loop, skipping explainability and ethical evaluation. I covered most of this. Data drift. So when you see lots of new data, the production data to the test data synchronization example that I gave, that is the data drift example that we had done. Ad hoc manual checks instead of automated process gates. That's important. Reliability is consistency, explainability, and governance. 3 main things to take care. Consistency, how do you measure consistency is through the evals, right evals that you would put on the AI agent. Explainability, there are logs. So when you see any AI agent nowadays, it comes as a to-do list and it goes on ticking what is done. In fact, you can control that. And once you see the process it is taking, the thinking and reasoning that is happening, you will be able to understand how the LLM is working and fine-tune your prompts to make sure it does what it is expected to do. Governance, the organizational governance that needs to be there. Feedback loops I covered. Evals and confidence scoring. For UI automation, what we thought was MCP tool calls. When I'm triggering Playwright tests or Selenium tests via MCP, is LLM making the right MCP tool calls? Agent test generation accuracy. What is the accuracy of test cases? Tool call to browser action accuracy. Multiple metrics can be put in there. Confidence thresholds for AI-driven results. Monitor schema drift and response reliability on API automation. Schemas change. And once your LLM starts thinking on that, and then it also gets adapted to the schema change, both are changing and you will not know what exactly changed and how do you check the backward compatibility and all. You'll have to always make sure that one is kept constant, the other one is varying. Dashboards to combine human plus AI confidence scores. You can automate a lot of confidence scoring, but human confidence also is very important. So there should be a human loop that has to be there. Humans, guardrails and growth, I have already covered. Humans in the loop, AI guardrails I mentioned, governance frameworks, policies, version control and retraining cadence. Enforce review, sorry I'm going late. I have been given a warning, I have to complete in 5 minutes, so I'll finish that. But most of the things, whatever I intended to cover, I have covered. And finally, the overall quality ecosystem, when it comes in, it moves from a reactive validation to a predictive assurance process. It's not like I'm asked to test, I test and certify. You are seeing the overall SDLC, you are working with the product team, and then you are continuously putting in the right checks at the right SDLC points to make sure that quality is checked at each and every point in the SDLC lifecycle. UI plus API intelligence merge. Someone asked a question about integration between platform testing and API testing and all. So there will be no UI automation engineer or UI testing engineers or API testing engineers. It will be a full stack quality engineer that everyone should know, because everyone should know data when it comes to AI. Everyone should know the API calls. Everyone should know UI. Quality becomes continuous, share trust between humans and AI, and then learning loops in CI/CD. So this is again DevOps. You have to work with DevOps on getting in the right feedback loops and also the contexts that are getting updated. So how does all of this get converged into the overall quality ecosystem? This is the overall platform, that AI-enabled platform it would look like. I have put it at a very granular level view and on all the points, logical view, where I have explained all the points. So you have requirements. From requirements, you can generate test cases. We have wireframes. Figma and Miro already give you the MCPs and the capabilities to generate test cases. Add both of this, you get better test cases. You have open API specs. There is an API agent which can generate Postman collections. We selected Postman. We didn't select code because of certain reasons. Uh, Postman collections can be used by anyone. You have to share a contract. You can share it with your end customers or the product team. And then code changes. There is a test planner agent. This is where I was checking if BrowserStack has a test planner agent here. Then execute and it gets and executes on the deployment. So when the deployment is happening, there is a crawler continuously working on that, continuously active, which is creating the navigation paths, page objects, data entities, and the HAR files are getting churned out. From the HAR files, the API chains are generated. So your entire API testing is just covered by your UI tests. And these will be reproducible. These can be rerun without even an AI agent using Postman collections. Because end of the day, you're creating a tangible artifact there. Similarly, when you're creating the test plans and the use cases and test scenarios, the feature files or plain English prompts, if you can generate code, it will bring in that determinism. This side, what I have told is all the context and the guardrails that needs to be put. Legacy test scripts can be given as examples. So what kind of response that the LLM should respond with, what kind of test cases, test case repositories, you can connect those. Then cursor rules, custom instructions. OpenAI has custom instructions which can be fed in at project level, IDE level, and at the OpenAI platform level. Then user manuals, application workflows, UAT cases, policy docs, you are enhancing the context. Feedback scores. So there is a feedback score which is coming in from the logs. And there can be human feedback also that can be given. And finally, the production logs. So all of these have to be working continuously in an autonomous way so that this is the ideal vision of how the AI platform would look like. Hope I made myself clear or it was not overwhelming. Yeah. Thanks. Any questions? Or can I take questions? Do you have time?
Yeah, sure.
It? Yeah. Any questions?
Hello.
Yep. We need some mic, I guess.
We'll just take a couple of questions due to the paucity of time.
When you put in this framework, right, the Spark framework, which
Sorry?
You have been speaking about the Spark framework, right,
Yeah.
holistically. So when you were putting together this Spark framework, what was your basis point in order to start it? Because like whatever you discussed and detailed is huge.
Yes.
And this would have taken a huge lot of time in order to put it through. But what you mentioned was that like you started with last year, Q4, and then by this now you have completed it, right? What you
Yep.
mentioned. What gave you the decision thought process and what gave you the directions in order to go ahead and get this done? Because like many points which you have put through, right? Like that required a detailed set of analysis, and I don't think it could have been done over a period of 1 quarter or 1.5 quarters. So how come you achieved that?
Yeah, it was 1 year. We have started in last quarter of last year.
Okay.
And the QA team is around 60 people. And we started experimentation across all the streams in the last year. As soon as ChatGPT and all came in, we started working on the agents and all of this. So initially we started with prompt engineering. We were seeing what kind of prompts were given. So each and everything what I have put is based on experimentation that we have done, how it got resonated with the teams. The first feedback, like one team developed a solution, we rolled it out to the other team. Everyone's first complaint was hallucination. Okay, I run the same script, I write it in the way you have told, it comes with hallucination. Right, like that. There are a lot of examples, and based on that, I coined this term Spark.
I would love to connect with you later, maybe after, to understand the structure thought process that you put in, because like it's very detailed, and
Yeah,
I'd love to
yeah.
hear more about it. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Thanks a lot, Sunil.